I hit Endgame in the current patch for the new World of Warcraft expansion, Dragonflight. In this series, I hope to play through current, old, as well as up-and-coming MMOs and give people a glimpse of the endgame content in those games. Be it how terrible, fun, tiring, mind-numbing, dreadful, awful, toxic the journey is to reach late game and the content it would provide, as long as it's between phases in classic WoW.
Kill before he dies.
Yo!
Nice.
I kind of had this idea after seeing all the amazing upcoming games shown during the Game Awards this year. Among those being a couple of decent looking games labeled MMOs, which I would hope to cover in future videos. Now, my subscribers might be thinking, why am I even playing Dragonflight? I thought you were a classic only gamer. Well, let me explain myself, okay? When they first teased the new expansion, they showed off some huge changes with their talent system, some like cool HUD customizations, and overall like a better progression system. That, and we got like dragons and shit flying around, so that seemed pretty cool. While I wasn't expecting to go too hard into retail, I sort of randomly got this huge interest in seeing what the new raid and the new progression was like in comparison to my normal pace with classic WoW, while also knowing that retail had a pretty short time to level. I was also looking for something else to do other than run Nax for the 80th time. I don't want to gear, God please help me, I don't want to gear any more characters. The breath of fresh air from having a new playable race and class were pretty awesome, and the new dungeons were really fun so far. Besides the stupid let fly voice line that plays over and over again. Let fly! Let fly! Shut up! Let fly! The new crafting and gathering system progression and the crafting orders mechanic have been pretty interesting as well to me. This expansion is actually the first time I wanted to level my professions in World of Warcraft. There's no other game that really does profession grinds like RuneScape does, in my opinion. The closest for me might have been New World if it didn't scale as horribly as it did and make me want to rip my hair out after being forced to chop like thousands of the earlier level materials just to keep. I'd rather not talk about it. While I did a really similar grind when Shadowlands first came out and it seemed really cool to me, I felt immediately much more disconnected from the story and what was happening around me. And while it was all still new to me with the characters, like I was still pretty new to WoW in general. It seemed like that was more of a common theme throughout most of the fan base, even longtime players. I'm not sure if this time around is different because I've been delving more into the lore, but seeing a lot of returning characters, even just from the classic version of the game that I'm playing, coming back in the current content is really cool for me. For example, Shadowlands brought back KT pretty much just when Phase 5 of Nax was ending in Classic, or roughly when TBC was starting, same time. So I had all these like inner questions with myself about why he's back or like what happened, and this was obviously without knowing about the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. How many times will they bring back Kel'Thuzad, or how many other named figures are going to have the initials KT? So that was kind of my big hook into starting to play Dragonflight. Now, in order to get to where I wanted to talk about, which was the end game, the dungeons, etc. First thing I had to do was level my character from the previous max level to the current, which took me roughly 14 hours plus or minus another 2 or 3 hours depending on how sweaty you want to be while you're leveling. This is kind of the nice thing that I like about retail compared to Classic being my main game. You can pretty easily hit the end game content in as little as a day if you're a big grinder, or even casually with a couple hours a day or week. You won't find yourself dumping over 100 hours just to find out you're only halfway through the process. For example, I leveled multiple characters to 60 in Classic WoW, and they took me roughly 10 days of in-game time through regular questing and dungeon grinding. Granted, that was kind of the thing I was looking for when I started playing Classic anyways. If that's not what you're looking for, I actually ended up just hitting 70 on my Priest the other day while procrastinating on making this video. I think it's safe to say, in my experience, that retail WoW is probably the easiest MMO to get into if you don't have a ton of time in your week to watch cutscenes for 80% of your game time, or not deal with mobile game style progression, which is awful, do nothing, play with 3% of its player base, or learn one of the most complicated idle games ever created. Now, I didn't put RuneScape there as a negative. I've spent more time on RuneScape than I spent in school. These are all just funny ha-has, and I enjoyed each game for a time. Now, actually, I'll let you in on a little secret. In middle school, I unironically made a WoW Sucks RuneScape rules graphic, and I was very proud of it. Look at where we are now. So on to the actual endgame. Probably one of my biggest motivators and favorite things about playing WoW is the new raids and progression content. Throughout the entire opening of the campaign, it got me super excited to see just how the first raid was going to pan out, what would come next after we fight our first big bad guy. And the rest of this is going to sound really nerdy, probably, but like, who are the bosses? Like, what are the mechanics? What are the arenas like? What consequences will this have on the world and its characters? There's a lot of immersion. There's a lot of immersion you can take in from raiding across most MMOs, just seeing how the world evolves, the stakes rising throughout the lifespan of the expansion. Along with the best part about MMOs is controlling your character like you were playing a complicated piece of piano music. I just didn't have the patience for it. Like, when I'm playing an MMO, I'm fucking there to fucking, like just push button. The raid itself was really fun. I ended up joining a random pug in the LFG tool because my friends' guilds wouldn't take me because I'm a classic player. Also because I couldn't actually make the weekend run that I was trying to go to. At the very least, this group had a guy that sounded exactly like Jschlatt.
Look at ready, check, pull. It's during the big circle. It has to be split.
He
Those little
talks-
circles come up
Yeah,
during
the little
big...
circles get
He
lined
talks
up,
just
though,
like,
so the tank could take them out.
Fuck.
You gotta
What's his
shatter
name?
those right away.
Yeah, but they also do like
They do raid-wide damage,
stacking
though.
damage, so that's why
No,
they never
they don't.
It ended up being pretty chill, and we downed 5 out of the 8 bosses in the 3 hours we spent in there, with a couple really close kills making the run feel pretty hype.
Let's go, boys. 500.
Two man.
Go, big wigs, boys. Let's go.
Tank's got this. Holy shit.
100K.
Holy
They
shit.
got it. They
They
got it. They got it. They
What
got it.
the
They got it.
fuck?
Let's go. Come
Let's
on. Let's go.
As far as the difficulty of the raid goes, I feel like I have a pretty bad perspective on the learning curve of raid mechanics since I've been playing for a couple of years now, but the mechanics were interesting enough to keep me engaged and excited to see how the different fights and the different phases turned out. Leave a comment down below actually if you're new, casual, or more of a hardcore player, and let me know how the new raid felt for you. While it usually takes a couple of weeks for them to actually tune the raid down, there is an introductory version of the raid that you can play being released in 3 parts starting December 19th to January 16th. So if you're looking for an extra casual way to see some of the endgame content, then that's going to be your best bet. At this point, Dragonflight's gonna have been out for a little bit, and a lot of people have already experienced most of it. So I wasn't trying to make this like a guide or anything. I just wanted to give some insight on why I was enjoying the game and what I was looking forward to. This is definitely the most time I've spent on one of these videos, but I've always been absolutely terrible at explaining my thoughts and my thought process. So if there's anything that you would have wanted to know about this game, and maybe I could fix that in another video on another MMO, let me know. Comment down below, join the Discord, leave a like, subscribe, do please, I don't know.